Bailey Jaquay has a life just like any other college student. However, getting to be the person she is today wasn't an easy journey. Sharing her journey was just as difficult.
Being in high school and being at that age and everything that was going on, and Esperanza was really, really hard sometimes. I've always trusted dance to kind of be my outlet and to be the thing that will make it all go away. I don't know what I would have done without it, just because it was my only therapy. I didn't really know who to talk to.
We've been doing this for 6 years now, and what I have found, no matter where we perform and no matter to what audience we perform, people relate to what they see and they relate to what they hear. I started Esperanza after finding out that when my daughter was 18, she finally told a person that she had been sexually abused throughout her life. She couldn't even remember when it started.
Esperanza means hope in Spanish, which is also the main motive behind the Esperanza Dance Project. The project spreads awareness about childhood sexual abuse through dance, music, and spoken word. Some of the dancers are survivors of sexual abuse. Beth named the project for her daughter.
A couple of months later, she came home one day and said, "Mom, I'm gonna go get a tattoo." And she had the word Esperanza tattooed alongside the heart. And so she had hope tattooed on her body. When she was at her lowest, I tried to hold on to that. She wanted to have that hope. When I started Esperanza, there was just no question that that had to be the name of the company, and it had to be hope, and that had to be what our purpose was.
The Esperanza Dance Project is a form of dance movement therapy. This therapy is a healing technique that works with the mind and the body. The movements help release the trauma trapped in the body. Beth experienced the benefits of dance movement therapy and invited dancers to join her project. Bailey was one of those dancers.
Even though no one really knew what was going on with me and why I was so upset all the time and things like that, it made me feel less alone.
When I asked Bailey to be a part of Esperanza, I was just starting Esperanza. It was her freshman year in high school. I invited her to be a part of Esperanza because of who she is. She did everything for everyone and was always, came in with a positive attitude. She was really good at putting on a happy face. I know she was hiding a lot of things, but I knew nothing really at the time when I invited her to be a part of Esperanza.
I remember his hands pinning me on the floor. That's kind of like the last thing that I really remember, because after that, I just closed my eyes and I ignored everything. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to deal with it. I did not want to address it at all. It wasn't a thing that happened. It just wasn't. Anyone who is willing to completely take over a human like that, I don't even know what they would do if you fought back. You feel like your soul is gone. Your body is so empty. You're just like, I can't feel, I can't think, I can't process anything. And that is such a weird thing to think or say, but literally the absence of my soul.
Around the same time as the abuse, Bailey's mother suffered a brain aneurysm.
Things changed a lot. She wasn't her happy self anymore. And at one point I was very concerned.
Dance movement therapist Robin Memel Fox says that each person has a different reaction to trauma.
The impacts and the effects of abuse is so individual. And the main thing about what happens with trauma and getting stuck in the body is that people get ill. People get physical symptoms, they get somatic complaints.
My sophomore year of high school, I had tried to kill myself, and it didn't work. There was just one day where I was like, I cannot do this anymore. Emotions are exhausting. Being so unhappy and fighting that much, I was just so exhausted and so just like an emotional disaster and beyond stressed out, and I felt like I had no support, and because I was by myself.
Bailey's hopelessness is a common feeling for victims of sexual abuse.
The rates of suicidal ideation or suicidal attempts are higher for people who have sexual abuse because they feel so bad about themselves, they hate themselves so much.
Overwhelmed by her emotions, Bailey relied on dance as an outlet.
I was in Esperanza at the time, and that was quite literally my only saving grace that I had. Beth is the reason I am alive today.
She had lost so much of herself through her experiences that she had with sexual violence and abuse. Even with that, though, she still kept coming to Esperanza.
I have no idea why I kept going. Must have been searching for something.
I think she had so much pain inside of her that being involved in dance was not allowing her to not feel the pain anymore.
Any kind of therapy that works with the body is very powerful versus just talking about it, because you're able to re-experience the memories with your body, because what happens is our triggers are very sensory, our triggers are body-based when abuse has happened to the body.
She led a secretive life filled with overwhelming pain, shame, and suffering. From as far back as she can remember, she was a victim of sexual abuse. Now 21, she was still afraid that if her secret was revealed, she would no longer be worthy of love.
The only way that the performers can express what we're trying to express to our audiences is if they can be genuine with what we're talking about and what we're dancing about, which means that they really have to allow themselves to feel while they're dancing.
Bailey recalls performing at an all-girls treatment center. At that event, she began to understand the positive role dance was playing in her life.
That was hard because all I could think about was that could have been me. Like, if I wasn't in the project, that I would have been one of those girls in the treatment center. Sorry. That was really, really hard. That, I guess that's why that if I hadn't stuck with Esperanza, if I didn't have something keeping me grounded and making me go every single day, that I would have been a girl in a treatment center. And if I didn't have that emotional release, even as hard as it was, that if I wasn't doing something to express myself and to get it out, that like I have no idea what would have happened. And that's why I say Esperanza saved my life, because I don't know, I have no idea what would happen if I didn't keep going.
When we dance, even if we don't want to feel what's inside, We have to through dance. It's so impossible to use our bodies in the way we use our bodies as dancers to completely disconnect to them. It's almost this way of, I don't want to feel this, but I'm not willing to let this go either.
Esperanza was really, really hard sometimes. You find different things that affect you differently, and that's why it's so hard all the time, because you're like, maybe I'm okay, maybe I'm fine now, and then you're like, oh, here's something else that just jumps out of your mind, a memory, a flashback, or something. There's this one movement in Hurt. We grab our hands, and I would remember nights that I'd be really upset. Specifically, like, that movement just reminds me of when he pinned my hands down. That's all I think of every single time when I do this movement. Somehow along the way that I took those movements back for myself, if that makes sense, where I was grabbing my own hand and it wasn't anyone pushing me to the floor. It was my movement. It was me. I was making all of the decisions.
Trauma gets stuck in our chemical, and it's like a chemical that can get stuck in your body. So to get it out and release it through expressing emotions can help someone to release that shame and to actually empower themselves to take their body back.
Beth noticed another change in Bailey, this time for the better.
That little spark came back. And that was one thing about Bailey from the time I met her, was that spark of life that she had and like twinkle in her eye, and that was gone for a while. She started to love dance again, and she started to be with people again. Over the years, I have realized more and more and more how important movement is in therapy. It's almost like the gateway to really connecting our minds with our bodies again.
Pain is good sometimes. It means you're growing. It means you're changing. It means you're doing this, that, and the other to get away from whatever's really hurting you. Esperanza gave me my strength back. The project is so comforting, and that's why I think that it's so hopeful, is because you feel okay. You feel better. You feel like you're making emotional and mental progress. You feel like you are in fact taking back your power, and you feel stronger and more important and validated. And I think that that's why Esperanza is hope, because it gives you back everything that you had lost.
Bailey wants to help others because of her experience with the Esperanza Dance Project.
The ultimate goal would be to open a therapy center based around the healing properties of art. So music and even film and painting and dance, of course. I think that art, regardless of like what media it is, I think it has this way of connecting to people, and I think it tends to be an easier outlet. I've done like regular formal therapy, and that's totally fine, and it's great, and it's fun to chat with somebody, but I think Esperanza and dancing was my main form of therapy. I was able to express myself more, and I felt more safe because I was comfortable and familiar with it, and I think that might be the case for a lot of different people.
Since 2010, dance has helped Bailey make strides in her journey to overcome the trauma associated with her sexual abuse. She has a message for others who are also searching for hope.
Once you go through all of that shit, there's the light at the end of the tunnel. It gets a little bit easier. You just kind of have to let everything slowly but surely fade.